I know what you're thinking. Too many legs, too fast, too strange. And if one suddenly appeared on your bathroom wall tonight, you'd probably do exactly what millions of Americans do every year. Reach for the nearest shoe, maybe a paper towel, maybe a vacuum cleaner, maybe anything within arm's reach, because some creatures trigger a reaction so quickly that logic never even gets a chance to participate. You see movement, your brain identifies danger, and the decision is already made. The strange thing is that this reaction happens before most people even know what they're looking at. All they know is that something with far too many legs just appeared out of nowhere, then disappeared again before they could process what happened. Perhaps you've experienced it yourself. Late at night, the house is quiet. Everyone else is asleep. You walk into the bathroom and turn on the light. For a moment, everything looks normal. Then something moves, fast, almost impossibly fast. A blur racing across the wall, vanishing behind a cabinet, disappearing beneath a baseboard, gone before you can even react. And for the next few seconds, there is only one thought. What was that? Most people never get an answer, because most people never stop long enough to ask a second question. Why was it there? That question turns out to be far more important, because what if the creature you are looking at is not the problem? What if it is responding to a problem? What if it appeared because it found something else, something hidden, something moving through your home right now, something you have never seen? Because there is an entire world operating inside your house after dark, a world that exists whether you notice it or not, inside wall cavities, behind appliances, beneath storage boxes, inside crawl spaces, around water pipes, under bathroom cabinets. Tiny creatures moving through tiny spaces. Most homeowners never notice them. Most homeowners never even think about them. Yet every night, those hidden spaces become active. Invisible traffic begins moving through your home. Tiny lives crossing paths in complete darkness. And somewhere in that darkness, there is a hunter, not waiting, not resting, hunting, following movements too small for humans to notice, following signals humans cannot detect, following a world that most people never realize exists. And this is where the story begins to become interesting. Because the hunter is not looking for you, it is looking for something else, something living in the same hidden places, something sharing your home without your permission. Think about your own house for a moment. Have you ever wondered what happens after the lights go out? What moves beneath your basement stairs? What lives behind the walls of an old house? What crawls through spaces you never see? Most people do not want the answer, but the hunter does. It spends every night looking for that answer, night after night, year after year. And the strange part is that millions of Americans encounter this hunter without ever understanding what they are actually seeing. Because fear usually ends the conversation before curiosity has a chance to begin. The legs, the speed, the sudden appearance, everything about it seems designed to trigger discomfort. Yet appearances can be deceptive, very deceptive. In fact, one of the biggest mistakes homeowners make is assuming that the fastest thing they see is also the thing they should worry about most. But what if the opposite is true? What if the creature racing across your bathroom wall is not the threat? What if it is chasing the threat? And what if eliminating it only makes that hidden problem harder to detect? Because the animal we are talking about tonight has spent millions of years perfecting a job that most people never even realize it is doing. A job that begins every evening, long after the lights go out, long after the doors are locked, and long after the rest of the house has fallen asleep. Its name is the house centipede, scientifically known as Scutagera coleoptrata. And before tonight is over, you may discover that one of the most frightening creatures in your home has been one of the most misunderstood all along. Let's start with the speed, because speed is what most people remember. Not the antennae, not the body, not even the legs. The speed. If you have ever seen a house centipede move, you probably remember the moment vividly. 1 second it was standing perfectly still. The next second it was gone. And the strange thing is that this speed is not designed for fighting. It is designed for finding movement, finding weakness, finding prey. Because while humans experience a home as a collection of rooms, the house centipede experiences it as a constantly changing map. A map filled with signals, air currents, vibrations, chemical traces, tiny clues left behind by the creatures moving through your house. And unlike humans, the centipede is paying attention to all of them. Imagine dropping a single crumb beneath your refrigerator. You may never see it again, but that crumb might attract a tiny insect. That insect might attract another, and eventually, a predator notices, not because it sees the crumb, but because it follows the chain of events the crumb creates. This is how the hidden ecosystem inside a home works. Everything is connected. Every movement creates another movement. Every insect attracts another insect. Every predator follows prey, and the house centipede sits surprisingly close to the top of that food chain. Which brings us to something most homeowners never realize. The centipede is not wandering randomly through your house. It is following routes, invisible routes, the same routes that cockroaches use, the same routes that silverfish use, the same routes that ants use, the same routes that countless insects use every single night. To us, a wall is a wall. To a house centipede, it is a highway. To us, a baseboard is decoration. To a house centipede, it is a travel corridor. To us, a basement storage room looks empty. To a house centipede, it looks crowded. And this is where things become even more interesting, because the centipede's favorite prey happens to include some of the insects Americans dislike the most: cockroaches, silverfish, carpet beetles, small spiders, ants, moths, and dozens of other species most homeowners would rather never discover. Think about cockroaches for a moment. Most people hate the idea of seeing a cockroach, but what is even worse, not seeing one. Because by the time a homeowner notices a cockroach, dozens more may already be hiding somewhere nearby, inside walls, under appliances, behind cabinets. The visible cockroach is often only a small part of the story. The same is true for silverfish. Most people only see them occasionally. A quick flash in a bathroom, a movement beneath a box in the basement, a tiny silver shape disappearing into darkness. But silverfish can spend years living inside a structure without being noticed, feeding on paper, glue, cardboard, stored possessions. The house centipede hunts them too, night after night, without charging a fee, without making an appointment, without needing anyone's permission. And perhaps that is the strangest thing. Most homeowners spend hundreds of dollars each year trying to control pests, sprays, baits, traps, professional treatments. Meanwhile, a predator is already working in the exact places humans struggle to reach: behind insulation, inside wall cavities, around plumbing, inside crawl spaces. The places where pest populations begin, the places where infestations grow, the places where problems remain invisible, which creates a very uncomfortable question. If you keep seeing house centipedes, what exactly are they finding enough of to survive? Because predators do not remain where food is scarce. Nature is brutally efficient. If prey disappears, predators disappear. If food disappears, hunters move on. So when homeowners see house centipedes repeatedly, they often focus on the wrong animal. They focus on the hunter, not the reason the hunter arrived. And this may be the most important idea in the entire video. The house centipede is often not the problem. It is the clue, the indicator, the biological message, a signal telling you that another ecosystem may already exist inside your home, an ecosystem you cannot see, an ecosystem the centipede sees every single night. And what happens next may surprise you even more, because once scientists began studying where house centipedes spend most of their time, they discovered something very revealing. The centipede does not choose random rooms. It chooses locations where moisture exists: bathrooms, basements, laundry rooms, crawl spaces, areas where humidity remains higher than normal. At first, that seems insignificant, but moisture changes everything. Because moisture supports insects, and insects support predators, which means the centipede is often tracking environmental conditions long before homeowners notice them. A leaking pipe, poor ventilation, hidden condensation, a damp crawl space, problems that may remain invisible for months, sometimes even years. And that is why pest professionals often view predators differently than homeowners do. Homeowners see a frightening animal. Ecologists see information, because every predator tells a story. The real challenge is learning how to read it. And the story the house centipede is telling may be very different from the one most people imagine. And perhaps that realization changes everything. Because once you stop seeing the house centipede as an intruder, you begin seeing it as information, a clue, a signal, a biological warning system quietly operating in the background of your home. Think about how unusual that is. Most of us spend our lives trying to make nature stay outside. We seal doors, close windows, install screens, spray chemicals, set traps. Yet no matter how carefully we separate ourselves from the natural world, it never truly disappears. It simply moves into places we rarely notice: behind the walls, beneath the floors, inside the attic, inside the crawl space. And whether we like it or not, those hidden spaces become ecosystems, tiny communities of insects, predators, scavengers, and competitors, all interacting with one another every single day. Most of that activity remains completely invisible until one night something races across your bathroom wall and suddenly reminds you that the hidden world is still there. The house centipede is not a monster. It is not an invader. It is not evidence that your home is dirty. It is not waiting for an opportunity to attack you. In reality, it spends most of its life doing everything possible to avoid you. The speed that frightens people is not aggression. It is escape. The centipede knows exactly how dangerous humans are. Every vibration, every footstep, every door closing, every light switching on. To the centipede, you are the giant in the story, not the other way around. And perhaps that perspective is worth remembering, because fear has a strange way of simplifying the world. The moment we become afraid of something, we stop asking questions. We stop observing. We stop learning. We stop being curious. The creature becomes the villain before the story has even begun. But nature is rarely that simple. Again and again, the animals people fear most turn out to be far more complicated than they first appear. Owls were once feared. Bats were once feared. Spiders are still feared. And now the house centipede joins that list. A creature judged almost entirely by its appearance, not by its behavior, not by its role, not by the job it quietly performs every night. Because while people sleep, the hunt continues. Cockroaches continue moving through hidden spaces. Silverfish continue searching for food. Tiny insects continue traveling through walls and under floors. And somewhere nearby, a predator continues following them. Patiently, relentlessly, night after night, long after the lights go out, long after the house becomes silent, long after everyone believes nothing is happening. The centipede is still working. And maybe that is the most surprising part of all. Not that it exists, not that it hunts, but that it has probably been doing this for years without anyone noticing. Possibly in your own home, possibly behind a wall only a few feet away, possibly helping control problems you never even knew existed. So the next time you see a house centipede, pause for just 1 second before reacting. Ask yourself a different question. Not, how do I get rid of it? But, what is it finding here? That single question can completely change the way you see the situation. Because the real mystery was never the centipede. The real mystery was always the hidden world it was tracking. And once you begin paying attention to that hidden world, something remarkable happens. You start noticing how connected everything is, how every predator depends on prey, how every ecosystem leaves clues, how even the smallest creatures can reveal things about our homes that we would otherwise never discover. And perhaps that is why understanding nature is so rewarding. The closer we look, the stranger and more fascinating it becomes. Before we finish, I would love to hear your experience. Have you ever found a house centipede in your bathroom, basement, garage, or laundry room? What was your first reaction? Did you immediately try to kill it? Or did you simply leave the room and let it continue whatever mission it was already on? And after everything you've learned today, would you react differently the next time? Tell me honestly in the comments. I read every single one, because some of the best stories in this community begin with ordinary encounters that suddenly become extraordinary once we understand what we are actually looking at. And if you think the hidden world inside your walls is surprising, wait until you discover what is happening beneath a single stone in an American backyard. Because under that stone is another secret ecosystem, another misunderstood community, another story that most people walk past every day without ever realizing it exists. And what is happening there every night may be even stranger than the hunter we talked about today. Until next time, keep looking a little closer. Nature is almost always doing more than it seems.